In the realm of horror cinema, there exists a rare breed of films that transcend the boundaries of traditional fear-inducing narratives. Martyrs, a 2008 French horror film directed by Pascal Laugier, undoubtedly belongs to this elite category of nightmare fuel. This video will explore why Martyrs is not just a run-of-the-mill horror movie, but a relentless and psychological tale of torment and torture that lingers in the mind long after the credits have rolled. As always, I will be delving deep into the plot and discussing key details of the film, so please take this as your major spoiler warning. And in the next month, we're going to be releasing our launch video on our brand new channel, The Horror Exchange. So please stay poised and ready for that, and why not give us a quick subscription to help us on our way? Links in the description. Guys, we need to have a discussion about Martyrs. I just want to preface this video that although this was released in 2008, I've only just watched it now. Yes, I'd heard of it, I could picture the cover art in my mind, but I've never had any inkling about what Martyrs was about, only that you guys have suggested it and recommended it many times in the comments, and the Ghoul Gang always come up with banger suggestions for nightmare fuel content. So I watched it last night, and I've given myself a little bit of time just to process what I've witnessed. I've watched a lot of horror films, and only a select few of them have changed me slightly as a person after seeing them and had a lasting impact. This film is absolutely grotesque. I did not anticipate nor brace myself for what was to come, and I thought we'd get something along the lines of an I spit on your grave. Girl goes through terrible trauma, then seeks revenge. No. I was very wrong. Our protagonist in Martyrs is Anna, a young French girl who seems to chase after her troubled best friend Lucy, who has been through a lot of childhood trauma. Lucy was kidnapped and held captive in some kind of industrial facility when she was younger. She was chained up, given a mattress and a chair with a hole cut out of it so she could excrete into a bucket. But Lucy managed to escape from this place, and the narrative picks up 15 years later in a very large modern remote home in the countryside, where a typical nuclear family are enjoying their Saturday morning breakfast. There's a knock at the door, nothing out of the ordinary there, and it's Lucy standing there with a double-barreled shotgun, who proceeds to blow a hole in each member of the family, including their 18-year-old son, and I want to say 12 to 13-year-old daughter. You see it all as well. There's no cutaways, there's no sparing of the blushes of this normal family. They're gunned down, and according to Lucy, it's all because of what they did to her. One of the primary reasons why Martyrs is considered nightmare fuel is its unflinching and unprecedented levels of brutality. The film dives headfirst into the darkest recesses of human suffering and violence, sparing no details in its portrayal. And just like that, I was on the edge of my seat, albeit slightly confused because the description of the movie depicted that Lucy was on a quest for revenge, and she had it already, served nice and cold within 10 minutes of the introductory credits. I mean, where could the narrative go from here? To another dimension is where it went. So Anna then shows up at the house, too late to stop Lucy from exacting revenge, but she clearly cares deeply for Lucy and tries to help her navigate this mess of a situation that she's found herself in. But Lucy's not alone in the house. There's this descent-like looking creature scuttling along the ground that's after her. Everywhere Lucy runs to, the creature just seems to know where she is. It chases her down, pins her to the floor, and runs a knife down her back and slits her wrists vertically before dragging her outside and executing her once and for all with a lethal slash to the neck. Traumatized about what she's just seen, Anna goes back into the house and discovers a secret passage leading into the basement. She walks down a hallway that I can only describe as a hybrid between a science lab and a movie theatre. On the wall are pictures of people who look like they've been tortured to within an inch of their lives. Their images sit in light boxes, a bit like what you'd see at the cinema when a new film's being advertised. She delves a bit deeper and comes across a hatch in the floor with a set of ladders that descend vertically into an even deeper pit. Inside there is a woman, stripped naked, wearing what I can only describe as a cyborg-looking metal helmet that's been bolted into her skull. She's basically naked and has lots of tiny little cuts all over her body. Anna releases this woman and brings her back upstairs and starts to take care of her, prying this metal contraption from her head with a flat bottom screwdriver. Then the people dressed in black arrive. They take her downstairs to the lab corridor and handcuff her to the table. An older looking woman rocks up to the house, who is later referred to simply as Miss, and she begins to peel back all of the layers of this secretive operation. Lucy was captured as a young girl by this organisation and she was tortured. She wasn't the first, she certainly was not the last, but she was put through indescribable pain before escaping. Miss says that as a byproduct of the torment, you begin to see things that aren't really there. Lucy's creature was a psychological manifestation of a similar looking person that she'd decided to leave behind right before she made the decision to escape on her own. The woman who Anna has just found down the hatch with the metal contraption on her skull, well, her manifestation was that she imagined bugs crawling all over her 24/7, which explains the deep scars from constant scratching. And the whole motive for why this is happening, well, this organisation believes there's a way to become martyred and receive a glimpse into life after death. The way that this is achieved is by experiencing sustained physical and psychological torture over a long period of time. At the end of this horrendous ordeal is hopefully enlightenment. Miss goes on to say that they've tried this with everyone, even children, but the most sensitive to being transformed and enlightened are young girls. Anna is then chloroformed and we enter possibly one of the most disgusting final phases of any movie that I've personally witnessed besides a Serbian film. Anna is now in captivity. She's chained to the wall and has a wooden chair with a hole in it so she can defecate into a bucket, just like all of the other victims had. I'm really looking forward to seeing how she escapes, I thought, because, you know, that's how films tend to go. There's a metronome to these things, a good positive ending, a revenge story. Well, in a sense, it was a revenge story, but it felt like it was the organisation exacting revenge on Anna for Lucy escaping 15 years ago. And we live this through Anna. We quite literally endure this torture with her. There's a sequence of scenes during the final phase of the movie where a day begins in Anna's cell, then she's tortured in some way, the screen fades to black, and the day ends. The day begins, she's forcefully fed, the screen fades to black, and the day ends. The day begins, she's almost beaten to death by a big burly man, the screen fades to black, and the day ends. And this cycle repeats over and over and over, and there's absolutely no sense of, this is what's happened to the protagonist, this happens over an extended period of time, you can fill in the blanks as an audience. There's absolutely none of that. We see the pain and the suffering that she's going through. We see all of it. It's just a sickening watch. I'm someone who has a really strong, cultured stomach for horror, but I find myself wincing and struggling to remain fixated on the screen at times. Martyrs really toes that line very close to what's acceptable for the screen, but it's what makes the suffering of Anna seem so authentic, and the lasting effect that it leaves on audiences is heavy. Anna's resilience to the pain graduates her to the final stages of the trauma where very few make it. What else can they put this poor girl through? Can it get any more merciless? So they strap her to a metal contraption and strip her naked and begin cutting with surgical scissors. Some time passes and Anna is brought out from a back room and rechained to a pipe. They remove a blanket that's covering her and she's been flayed alive and now sat underneath some sort of light that'll produce insane amounts of pain for her. Every fibre of muscle tissue is exposed. It's abhorrent. The way Anna withstands and endures the endless torture is admirable, so much so that Miss is called back to the house to examine her. She goes to the side of Anna and Anna speaks into her ear, which concludes that Anna has actually been enlightened. She's made it to this stage, unlike many people before her. She's become martyred and enlightened to what comes after death, and whispers this in the ear of Miss before laying there motionless and never speaking again, presumably slowly dying. There's a big gathering at the house for a lot of followers of this organisation. They've all come to hear Miss preach and share Anna's testimony, which she whispered to her. But there's one last twist in this story. After being the only person who knows what Anna now knows, Miss proceeds to shoot herself in the head, suggesting that it's too horrific to live with this knowledge that Anna has imparted on her about the afterlife. Everything Anna's gone through has been completely in vain, a waste of time, for absolutely nothing. All she's felt for an extended period of time is excruciating pain, day in, day out, and this old woman can't even carry the burden of what comes after death. So she ends her own life. The ending just brought out so many different emotions for me. The final twist was really, really clever, but I was angry at the cowardice. The fact that there was no salvation for Anna, and this sick organisation will probably carry on with their work because they're now no further forward than where they were when they first started. So to conclude, a masterpiece of horror in my opinion. A story of perpetual torment that delivers its horror with a sledgehammer. The acting is incredible. I always engage how good acting is by how I'm immersed in the story through the characters, and I felt like what I was watching was real for 90 minutes. The performances from everyone were amazing, and it never once broke immersion for me. Martyrs is 100% nightmare fuel and runs with the very definition of what nightmare fuel is for me. Please go and watch it if you haven't seen it already, and let me know down in the comments how Martyrs has affected you on your first viewing. As always, I've been your host Hugh from Unleash the Ghouls, and I'll see you next time for another dose of nightmare fuel.